Pazuzu Algarad was a name that carried a certain weight, a kind of dark energy, long before it was known across the country. In the quiet suburban town of Clemmons, North Carolina, he was a local legend, but not the kind you celebrate. A figure of whispers and warnings. A man who intentionally crafted an image of menace and chaos. This story isn't just about the man himself, it's about how a community reacts or fails to react. A timeline of escalating strangeness, missed signals, a darkness that festered in plain sight. He didn't stumble into the reputation. He cultivated it with deliberate focus. He presented himself as otherworldly, rejecting societal norms, adopting a self-styled demonic persona. He drew people in, mostly young, disenfranchised individuals, people who felt like outsiders. To them, he was a charismatic, unnerving leader offering a sense of belonging. His home became a gathering place, a sanctuary for those on the fringes. For neighbors, that house was a source of dread, a black hole of unease in an ordinary neighborhood. The name Pazuzu Algarad was a declaration of intent. Before the demonic moniker and the infamous reputation, Pazuzu Algarad was known by a much more common name: John Alexander Lawson. Born in San Francisco in 1978, his early life was marked by instability and challenges. Cynthia James and Timothy Lawson. He was eventually raised primarily by his mother. From a young age, those who knew him noted signs of mental health struggles, agoraphobia, schizophrenia. In 2002, at the age of 24, John Lawson legally changed his name to Pazuzu Algarad. It was a carefully chosen name, dripping with occult significance. Pazuzu, a powerful demon from ancient Assyrian and Babylonian lore, famously featured in The Exorcist, Algarad. This act was more than an affectation, it was a profound statement about who he believed he was. This transformation was also physical. Algarad began altering his appearance to match his new, sinister identity. He covered his face and body in tattoos, crude symbols, satanic symbols, unsettling symbols. He filed his teeth into sharp points, creating a jagged, predatory smile. He often spoke of his rejection of modern hygiene, claiming that bathing would wash away his power. This deliberate neglect was part of the persona, a way to create a physical barrier between himself and a society he despised. He was building a character, and he was committed to living it 24 hours a day. His new identity was a magnet for a specific kind of person. His self-created persona gave him authority and influence that he never could have achieved as John Lawson. The house at 2749 Nob Hill Drive in Clemmons was the epicenter of Pazuzu Algarad's world. It was a modest, single-story home that he shared with his mother, Cynthia James. But over time, it transformed into something else entirely. For years, neighbors watched with growing alarm as the property descended into squalor and chaos. The yard became overgrown and littered with trash. Windows were covered with black paint or heavy blankets, and strange, unsettling symbols were scrawled on the exterior walls. The house physically mirrored the darkness being cultivated within, becoming a visible blight on the otherwise tidy suburban street. Neighbors reported constant unsettling activity. Loud, abrasive music would blare at all hours, punctuated by sounds of shouting, arguments, and what some described as ritualistic chanting. A revolving door of visitors, often appearing disheveled and troubled, would come and go. The smell that drifted from the house was overpowering, a foul combination of garbage, animal waste, and something else residents couldn't identify. Multiple calls were made to law enforcement and county officials over the years, but little seemed to change. Inside, the conditions were reportedly even more extreme. Those who claimed to have been inside described unimaginable filth. Animal carcasses, piles of garbage, and feces covered the floors. The walls were allegedly smeared with blood and covered in satanic graffiti. It was a space intentionally desecrated, a physical manifestation of Algarad's rejection of all societal norms. The house was his temple, and its decay was a form of worship, a testament to his commitment to chaos. For the community, the house was more than just an eyesore. It was a source of genuine fear. Pazuzu Algarad did not operate in a vacuum. He cultivated a small but dedicated group of followers drawn to his anti-establishment rhetoric and charismatic dark persona. This circle was primarily composed of young adults who felt like outcasts struggling with addiction, poverty, mental health issues. In Algarad, they found a leader who didn't judge them, who offered them a place within his self-styled nation. He provided a sense of belonging and purpose centered around nihilism, substance use, and professed worship of Satan. His home on Nob Hill Drive became their clubhouse, a place to escape the judgment of the outside world. The activities inside were, by all accounts, deeply disturbing. Algarad allegedly led rituals involving animal sacrifices, blood drinking, and self-mutilation. These acts were theater to bond the group and solidify his role as spiritual leader. He encouraged extreme hedonism and pursuit of pleasure by any means, creating a volatile, dangerous environment. He had a magnetic personality, both charming and terrifying, used to manipulate others. Loyalty and fear kept the house's secrets hidden for a very long time. The path to uncovering the events at 2749 Nob Hill Drive was long and frustrating, marked by years of missed opportunities and dismissed warnings. Pazuzu Algarad was no stranger to law enforcement long before the most serious accusations surfaced. His criminal record was dotted with charges over the years, minor infractions, and more serious offenses. These earlier run-ins painted a picture of disregard for authority and propensity for disruptive behavior. However, for a long time, these incidents were treated as isolated events. One of the most significant early red flags came in 2010. Algarad was convicted as an accessory after the fact to the shooting death of Joseph Emmerich Chandler. The man who pulled the trigger, Brian Smith, was found guilty of voluntary manslaughter. Algarad's involvement placed him on law enforcement's radar, yet he was able to return to his chaotic domain. Throughout this period, rumors about missing persons connected to Algarad's circle began to circulate. 2 men had disappeared in 2009. Joshua Frederick Wetzler, Tommy Dean Welch, both were known to have associated with Algarad. Friends told authorities they suspected foul play and that Algarad had made unsettling boasts about having killed people and buried them in his yard. These claims were chilling, but without concrete evidence or a body, they remained just rumors. Investigators looked into the disappearances, but the cases went cold. The challenge was immense. Officials were constrained by legal boundaries. They couldn't simply raid a home based on rumors and bad smells. The turning point came in the fall of 2014. After years of cold cases, investigators received a critical tip that gave them probable cause for a search warrant. On October 5, 2014, law enforcement descended on the house, prepared to conduct a thorough excavation. The search would confirm the community's worst nightmares. Using backhoes and ground-penetrating radar, forensic teams carried out careful excavation. It did not take long for them to make a grim discovery. Buried in shallow graves were the skeletal remains of 2 individuals. The remains were confirmed to be those of Joshua Frederick Wetzler and Tommy Dean Welch. The rumors that had haunted Clemmons for half a decade were suddenly horribly true. The discovery led to immediate arrests. On October 5, 2014, Pazuzu Algarad and Amber Burch were arrested. Algarad was charged with murder, but his story ended not in a courtroom, but in a prison cell. On October 28, 2015, Algarad was found unresponsive in his cell. His death was ruled a suicide. This sudden end meant he would never stand trial, denying the victims' families formal justice. In April 2015, the house was demolished. Neighbors gathered to watch as the physical structure that had caused them so much fear was torn down. Ultimately, the sensational details fade in importance when compared to the real human tragedy. The lives of Joshua Wetzler and Tommy Dean Welch were cut short, and their families were left to grapple with senseless loss.